Hello, dear students, and welcome back. My name is Ajlin, and our topic today, famous speakers. Let's start. In this lesson, you will be watching a video about famous speakers, and you will be writing a commentary on bad speakers. For this lesson, you need a pen or a pencil, a notebook, internet access, and you can stop the recording anytime you need. So let's start. Who do you think is the most famous public speaker in history? Can you now stop this recording and think for a second about who that person may be? It could be a person from distant history, or maybe a present-day politician or some other famous person. So stop the recording and think for a minute of who that person could be. According to some survey, these people here that you can see are the most famous speakers of all times. Can you recognize them? Do you know who they are just by looking at their photos? So, could you guess the speakers? The first one is Mahatma Gandhi, coming from India. He was famous for showing the politics of non-confrontational civil disobedience and advocating passive resistance. He also declined British government schooling and insisted that India should not participate in the Second World War. He was famous for fasting, and after fasting for a very long time, when they asked him how he felt, he said, "I just got a little bit thinner." The second person here is from distant past. His name is Marcus Tullius Cicero. He learned from the Greeks, and his compelling arguments are still used in modern rhetorics. He utilized rhetoric to convince the audience of his arguments. The third person on this slide is the only lady on the list. Her name is Margaret Thatcher, and she was the Prime Minister of Great Britain. During the 20th century, she was the Prime Minister who stayed in power for the longest period of time. She was nicknamed the Iron Lady because of the way she led the country. And the last person is an American president by the name of Ronald Reagan. He used to be an actor and later a very famous speaker. His ability to connect with an audience during his speeches put him on this list of top 10 orators of all times. The first one in this slide is Nelson Mandela from South Africa. He himself was imprisoned for 5 years, and he held his famous speech that lasted longer than 3 hours. He fought against apartheid in South Africa. The next person is an American president, and his name is Franklin Roosevelt. He was famous for being very close to the audience, for chatting with them, and for showing emotions. The third one, unfortunately, didn't show very many emotions, and we all know that that is Adolf Hitler. Adolf Hitler, although a man who did lots of bad things, maybe the worst person in the whole world, did have supernatural ability to tap into the fears and prejudices of an entire nation. He was charismatic and was a very good public speaker. And the last one here is Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., whose passion for words he chose actually made him one of the greatest speakers of all times. And the last two famous speakers are John F. Kennedy, who is known for his youthful demeanor and natural body language, and his famous words everybody knows, and they are, "Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country." And the last speaker here is Sir Winston Churchill, who was one of the greatest, if not the greatest speaker of all the times. The only problem was that he was terrified of public speeches and speaking in public, and in order to overcome his fear, he spent hours and hours meticulously writing his speeches. So he chose carefully every word that he said. Now, when we talk about these 10 people, who among them was the most famous speaker of all times, in your opinion? And what do you remember him or her by? Stop this recording for a moment to think about it. Try to find the answers to these questions. In order to help you better understand the lesson, here are some words that are a little bit more difficult. Do you know their meaning? Unyielding, any idea what that means? Can you choose from the list on the right-hand side? Unyielding means resolute, inflexible. Compelling? Compelling means captivating, overwhelming. Demeanor means manner, attitude. Cadence, that is a rhythm. Meticulous means thorough. To encapsulate, to summarize. And succinct or succinctly means briefly and concisely expressed. Fireside chat means an informal conversation. Infamy, that is well known for some bad deed. The adjective is infamous as opposite to famous. To utilize means to make use of something, to employ, to use. Entrenched means firmly established. Case in point, an example. In the thick of, in the most intense part of something, in the middle of something. Most Powerful Orators is the name of the video that you're going to watch. While watching the video, you will have to decide who the following sentences that you will see in a minute can be attributed to, who may have uttered them. So you have to copy them in your notebooks in order to be able to follow the video. These are the famous quotes or sentences uttered by those famous people. What you have to do is copy them now in your notebook. So the first one is, we are all of us imperfect in our way. When evil has to be overcome, then Britain will take up arms. All those traitors will pay with their own blood. I have a dream that children will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. Germany will come, and we will need a king whom we can all stand behind, united. Poverty is not natural, it is man-made. To gain independence, we must prove worthy of it. We ask God's blessing on the most hazardous and dangerous and greatest adventure on which man has ever embarked. Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. The only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Here is the link for the video. So what you have to do is copy it and watch the video. And remember, while watching the video, to decide who may have uttered those quotes that you have just copied in your notebooks. So stop the recording and copy the link. Let's now check your answers. This time you don't need to stop the recording because you will be watching a video that is embedded in this video lesson. So just lean back in your chairs and relax and watch the video and see if you have guessed well. I hope you guessed well. What you have to do now is watch the video, the first video again about the most powerful orators, and decide whose speeches could be characterized by these words. These are the characteristics of those 10 famous speakers, and you have to decide whom they belong to. So you have to copy this in your notebook or take a photo of it. The first one, controversial and unyielding style of speech. Number 2, compelling arguments. 3, youthful demeanor, natural body language, adjusted voice tone and volume. 4, ability to say the right things at the right time, wild gesticulation. 5, intimacy and comforting demeanor, fireside chats. 6, passionate, spoke with a relaxed cadence, rarely referencing the prepared materials. 7, meticulously prepared speeches and lots of practice. 8, soft-spoken demeanor, passive resistance. 9, ability to connect with an audience, sincere, succinct, honest. 10, passionate, challenging. Time to watch the video again, so stop the recording and watch the video. Time to check if you could match the characteristics to the famous speakers. Controversial, unyielding style of speech belongs to Margaret Thatcher. Compelling arguments were typical for Cicero. Youthful demeanor, natural body language, adjusted voice tone and volume were characteristic for Kennedy. Ability to say the right things at the right time and wild gesticulation, who else but Hitler. Intimacy and comforting demeanor, fireside chats, were typical for Roosevelt. Passionate, spoke with a relaxed cadence, rarely referencing the prepared materials, was Martin Luther King. Meticulously prepared speeches and lots of practice, that was typical for Sir Winston Churchill. Soft-spoken demeanor, passive resistance, who else but Gandhi. Ability to connect with an audience, sincere, succinct and honest, those were the characteristics of Ronald Reagan. Passionate and challenging, Mandela. the vocabulary that was introduced at the beginning of this lesson and that you had a chance to learn while watching the videos and doing your tasks need to be repeated one more time. What you have to do is replace the words written in red with the appropriate word from the beginning of the lesson. So stop the recording now and do your task. Let's now check. Cicero will be remembered in history for his compelling arguments and measured cadences that he employed when speaking in the Senate. Gandhi's soft-spoken demeanor and unyielding will was a way of showing passive resistance. His ideas of civil disobedience have remained entrenched in our society. Churchill meticulously prepared his speeches, utilizing all the possible sources he could get in touch with. He encapsulated his ideas succinctly and was not afraid to be in the thick of fighting, thus showing his courage on the battlefield. While watching this video twice and while doing your tasks, you could notice that these famous speakers used certain techniques to deliver their speeches. And these are the most important ones. Not all of them could be applied to all of the speakers that we mentioned. Some of them used one or two or three, some of them used more, and some of them used just one and were efficient. So very important is the tone in which the speech is delivered. Not less important, some say almost 80%, goes to body language, to the way we move around, to the way how we show if we are certain, assured of what we are saying, if we are sincere or not sincere. Of course, important is the message that we want to convey to the audience. Auditory communication is the way how we tell a story. If it is, sometimes it is in a very soft voice, slowly. Sometimes it is fast with lots of stress. It all depends on what you are talking about and what kind of a speaker you are. Digital communication is when you show statistics to the audience, and by doing so that you try to persuade them that what you are saying is actually true because there are proofs of what you are saying. It generates trust. Charisma is maybe the most important thing of an orator or a speaker. If you have a charismatic person, no matter what he or she says, will be listened by the audience. And a speaker, a good speaker, has to be passionate about what he is talking about, what he is trying to tell the audience. And of late, very important is humor. If the speech is witty, then it is much easier for the audience to follow it, or they will remember it. They will remember those witty quotes or witty thoughts much longer. So now we are going to do something a little bit different. We will now see some other famous speakers or infamous speakers, depending on how you look at them. But definitely what they said was witty. So again, lay back in your chairs, relax, and watch the short video. This time you have no other task, just to read and watch the video. I hope you enjoyed watching the video with witty remarks, witty quotes by witty orators. I know you liked best the last one about teachers. For your homework, you have to do something completely different. You have 2 links here, and they lead you to 2 videos about very bad speakers. Your task is to choose one of those speakers and to write a commentary on their speeches by referring to the techniques good speakers should use. So try to notice what is wrong with them and try to give advice on how they should improve their performance. This rubric will help you do your task, so you have to remember that your commentary should refer to those 8 techniques that we mentioned, and that you should give advice to those bad speakers how to improve their performance. Pay attention to your grammar and vocabulary and send your commentary to your teacher. Let's now check what you have done today. If you have watched the videos and completed the tasks related to them, expressed your opinion on public speakers, and written the commentary on bad public speakers, tick the smiling smiley. If you haven't, go back to the part that you haven't done and do it again. Thank you for watching and see you next time. Bye bye.